Hi, this is Marsha.
And this is Kelly.
We are the two Ewes of Two Ewes Fiber Adventures. Thanks for stopping by.
You'll hear about knitting, spinning, dyeing, crocheting, and just about anything else we can think of as a way to play with string.
We blog and post show notes at twoewesfiberadventures.com.
And we invite you to join our Two Ewes Fiber Adventures group on Ravelry. I'm 100 Projects.
And I am Better in Motion.
We're both on Instagram and Ravelry, and we look forward to meeting you there.
Enjoy the episode. Hi, Kelly.
Hey, Marsha. How's it going?
Pretty good.
Good. Been cold in Seattle?
Yes, it's 45 degrees today.
Oh, knitwear weather there, too.
Yes.
I wore my gala tunic. Let's do Charlene and Gail from the Yarniacs. Ask me what I'm wearing.
What are you wearing?
I'm wearing my gala tunic.
Oh, ask me what I'm wearing.
What are you wearing?
Polar fleece.
Oh, dear. Do you feel guilty when you wear polar fleece? I sort of do, yeah.
Yeah.
You know what makes me feel really guilty? I think I maybe mentioned this. I got new slippers, so I don't have to feel quite this guilty. But when I would come home from work and I'd be wearing...
Kelly, you don't have to feel guilty about anything.
Okay. Well, I do sort of. When I come home from work, if I've been wearing my wool socks, the moment I get in the door, I have to take them off my feet. Mm-hmm. I like them. I don't really notice during the day while I'm wearing them that my feet are a little bit itchy. But the moment I get inside and I open the door, as soon as I do that, I'll see like those fleecy socks. Mm-hmm. And it's like, oh, my feet need to go in there. I need to get these things off and get my feet in the... But I feel guilty because I like my wool socks, but I can only take them for so long. Mm-hmm. So... Oh, well.
Well, the reason I'm wearing polar fleece is I have nothing against wool sweaters, just to be clear about that.
In case anyone thought you might be
yes.
against anti-wool.
Yes, I'm not anti-wool, but side note, I will get to my point about wool sweater. I went to a party on Friday night and with some of the moms from the school that my son used to go to, and somebody's mother passed away. I thought she passed away recently. She actually passed away 6 years ago, and she's now just getting around to clearing out her house.
Oh, okay.
And, but anyway, she had a bunch of yarn, and word has gotten out that, if you got yarn you want to get rid of, who do you call?
Marsha.
Yes. So I went over, she lives near Green Lake, so I went over to her house and went through the yarn. And I brought some home, but most of it was acrylic. And I said I wasn't going to take that because I can't over dye it. I have nothing against acrylic. I just can't over dye it. So she was going to donate it, I think. But anyway, I then went and I walked around Green Lake and with the dog. So that's why I wore my polar fleece, because I sometimes get a little warm and moist. I'm sorry. I should not say that. That sounds horrible. I didn't want to say I perspire a little bit. That's
sweaty, Marsha.
That's better.
You're sweaty.
Yeah, that's better to say than moist. Anyway, I'm sorry. Anyway,
Marsha has a little problem with glowing.
Glowing. And I don't want to glow on my wool sweaters. So, but anyway, I ended up, it was cold enough that I really didn't ever really get warm walking around the lake. But I took the dog with me and we then stopped halfway around the lake. We went to the coffee shop and had coffee. There's a picture of my urban dog sitting at the coffee shop while I'm having a latte, and he's looking very good. In fact, I had a couple comments on the post about what good posture he has.
He does. He sits the way his legs are. I think is the thing about poodles. The way their legs are attached to their body makes them sit like with a big chest in front. Whereas like the Labs, the way their front legs are attached to their body when they sit, it's much more slouchy. And then if it's Rudy, she slouches onto one hip and then the other leg just kind of splays out to the side. Labradors are known for their sloppy sitting.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's funny. It was last week I walked around Green Lake with a friend that has a miniature Schnauzer, Zoe. I'm not exaggerating. About 5 people stopped us to comment about how handsome Enzo was. And, oh, he's so good looking. And, oh, can we pet him? And because I am a people pleaser, I kept saying, oh, but now don't ignore Zoe. Zoe's awfully cute, too. And my friend was laughing like, okay, you know what? Let it go. It's okay.
She doesn't have a complex about her dog.
Right. It's okay that they're all fawning over your dog. No, he's good looking and he was just recently clipped too, so he looks especially nice. He's not so shaggy, but
I like the shaggy look though. That's my favorite look. Yeah.
Yeah, I like the shaggy look, and the reason why I had him clipped, I was planning on having him clipped, but not quite this soon, but this is not something I knew when I got a poodle, but poodles actually have hair inside their ear canal. Mm-hmm. Did you know that? I don't know.
We had one when I was a poodle when I was a kid.
But like Rudy doesn't does she have hair in?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
Mm-mm.
Well, but anyway,
do, yeah.
So they wanted to remove that. Mm-hmm. And so the plan was when he goes in at 14 months for neutering is when he's under the anesthetic, they would just remove that hair. But I said, there's always been kind of an odor, in his ears, and then he's been scratching at his ears. Oh. I thought, and so, yes, he has an ear infection. So, last week, I think it was Monday, I took him into the vet and they actually went ahead and removed all the hair. But because he'd been scratching at his ear, a big mat was forming behind his right ear.
Oh, yeah.
And I was trying to get it out, and I thought, I can't do it anymore. So I thought, it's just time to go in and get groomed.
Oh,
so
good.
He looks, but he's fine. His ears are much better. It's kind of shocking to think about having to remove all that hair, but there's no odor now at all in his ears. So it's been kind of a something I should have taken care of a long time ago. I was just, the thought of it was worse than actually doing it. But anyway.
That's good that's done.
We're now 7 minutes and we haven't talked about knitting yet at all.
No, we talked about wool that we were wearing.
Oh, that's true.
That counts.
And besides, what are you wearing? What are you drinking?
Oh, you know what? I already drank it because we talked for too long before the podcast started.
Well, here, cheers. I'm having a cab.
I was drinking a Session IPA.
Okay.
Costco brand. It was left over from the party, the faculty party, so paid for by the union. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Before we get into what we're working projects, I just have to say I love your thinking about drinking. Your comment on Ravelry in the discussion thread when one of our listeners said something about because we're always drinking.
Right.
They want to have a drink with us, and I said you can knit and drink at the same time. And your comment was you should not do lace and knit at the same, drink and knit lace at the same time.
That's right. Yes. No, that is.
I thought that was funny.
Is what was really funny is when I was working on what's the guy's name? That big fancy lace thing that I did.
Oh, Niebling?
The Niebling, yes. The Niebling doily. One night, I actually was having a glass of wine and doing it. And I had only a little bit of the wine before, I was going to do one row and I was almost finished with the row. So I poured myself a glass of wine to finish the row. And then there was another row that was just plain old knitting, but you have to count. Mm-hmm. Anyway, I posted a picture on Instagram of my project and the glass of wine, and the first comment that I got was like within seconds was somebody commenting back, "Oh my God, don't spill that wine on that doily." And I thought, okay, there is yet another reason that I should not be drinking wine.
Yes.
And knitting on this doily. So I put I put the glass of wine across the room, finished what I was doing. And it had not occurred to me that I might spill.
So what are you working on?
So this moment, I'm actually continuing to work on socks. They're the same socks that I was working on, I think, last time. I've got one finished, and I'm on the second one. This is the Duren Dyeworks yarn in, I I think the color is called Inferno. It's reds, grays, and yellows. And it stripes like one. It's not quite a one row stripe, but it doesn't pool because the color repeats are short enough that you don't even get a full stripe around of any one color. So it's been really like small, skinny stripes. And then I have a slip, stitch, and purl pattern that I'm doing in between stockinette, so it has a little bit of texture, which is nice. It plays really nicely with the colors. So that's what I'm actually working on right now. But there should be a special name for something that you start and finish between podcasts. Because not only did I finish a project before this week, for this week, I actually didn't even start it. No one's even heard of this yet.
I'm in suspense.
Boot toppers. I had this yarn. It's Rowan soft tweed, and it's not spirit yarn. I actually bought it myself. But it was during a period of my life when I was actively opening emails from Webs, and there was a clearance yarn. It's like they bought yarn shops that were going out of business. I can't even remember what the name of it was. I had to get rid of it. I had to unsubscribe. But it was a company that it sells clearance yarn. And it's initials, some initials that maybe clearance yarn is in the initials. I don't remember. But I was actively opening emails from both Webs and this company. And I'd get one like almost every day. And so I'd be sitting at the table in the morning with my coffee, open this email. Oh, they have yarn on clearance. Okay, I'm going to go look. And then I would buy something. And I bought a lot of yarn at that time. So I ended up buying a bunch of cones of yarn, wool. And then I bought this gray. And then I decided to make a blanket for my sister. And it was great because all of these colors that I had bought actually went together really well. And I made she really loves yellow and orange. And so I made this yellow and orange blanket. But I had bought a gray to kind of mute the yellow a little bit. And so it was a woven blanket. And I had a bunch of gray left over because I ended up, I only used like maybe a strand here and there in the warp, whereas most of it was the yellow and orange. And I had an eggplanty purple, and I used some of my leftovers. It turned out really good. This was, I don't know, maybe 2007. So I've had this rest of this yarn. It's a color called Twig of this Rowan soft tweed, and it's a bulky. They call it a super bulky, but I don't think it's a super bulky. It's kind of a bulky yarn. Unspun, kind of felted roving-ish look to it. And I've been wanting to make something with it for a long time, and I finally decided I was going to make boot toppers. So we were going away for camping for the long weekend, and I found a pattern, and the pattern that I used was the Helmiku boot toppers, Helmikuu. It's Finnish, and it's the Finnish word for February.
Okay.
The designer is Sunshine Ravioli, and they're free, and they were super easy, cabled boot toppers. You do some ribbing, then you do 2 cable crossings, and then you do more ribbing, and you're done. I made a couple of adjustments because the pattern was for worsted weight, so I ended up needing to take out, I think, 2 of the repeats, the cables. And then when I first did the second cable crossing, I think because the yarn is a little bigger, maybe just because of my aesthetic, they looked too cramped. The cables looked too bunched. And so I ripped it back, and instead of doing the number of rows between cables that the pattern said, I added like 3 more rows between the cable crossings to kind of ease them out a little bit. But anyway, I made 2 pair of boot toppers, one for me, which I wore yesterday, and then I have another pair for a woman at work who I really barely know, but she wears knitwear. She has leg warmers inside of her boots, and she has scarves. And one day I went to a meeting, and she was there, and she was wearing a knit It wasn't hand knit. It looked like store-bought. It was a beige, kind of cream-colored knit dress, like tunic, short-sleeved tunic dress with all kinds of texture in the knitting. And then she had on, it was so cute, her outfit. She had on one of those like newsboy-style hats, but knit. Not quite the same cream color. It's not like they went together as a set, but a knit hat and a knit dress and boots. And then she had a little, like a silk scarf tied around her neck, like 80s style, 80s, 70s, maybe 70s, maybe 70s style. Anyways, darling. She's this teeny little darling woman, and she wears all this knitwear. And I thought, okay, I'm going to make her these boot toppers. So I used up all the yarn. I haven't given them to her yet. I decided not to give them to her the day I was wearing mine because I didn't know how she would feel about having matching boot toppers. We don't actually travel in the same circles, so she'll probably never notice that I have the same boot toppers that she has. But I just thought, okay, I'll wait until after we were at a meeting together and I had mine on, and I thought, no, I'll wait to give hers to her next week or something.
I'm well, and does she knit? Do you know, or
I don't know her well enough to know if she knits. I haven't ever asked her, but she does dress in a very stylish way, and
advanced West Coast.
Yes,
style
except
way.
She's not advanced age like we are.
Okay.
she's young and hip.
Young and hip. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm looking at your Ravelry page, and I can see these, and they're cute.
Yeah, I think they turned out really. Turned out really good, and
cute.
they super easy. I mean, about 3 hours, maybe less, for each one. So,
wow.
An hour for the first batch of ribbing, an hour for the cable crossing, an hour for the next batch of ribbing, and you're done. So yeah, that was
super quick. Yeah,
a bulky break. That's what I had, a bulky break. It was fun.
So that your boot toppers are sort of like my dishcloths.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. And they were perfect for camping. Mm-hmm. So I also worked on my crochet sweater while I was camping. Mm-hmm. So I made some progress with the crochet sweater, although some of the progress that I made the other night, not while drinking, let me just add, I had to rip out. Mm-hmm. Crochet and I are getting to know each other. You know how when you are knitting and you make a mistake, you can see it? Mm-hmm. Like, I guess there are some mistakes that you don't see. For example, I noticed a mistake in my tunic today while I was standing in the bathroom looking in the mirror. It's like, there's a mistake there. But mostly you can see it, if you made a mistake. With crochet, I don't see it right away, and I try to look. Like every row, I try to look to see if I've done everything right before I go to the next one. But I missed it, and about 4 rows back, there was a big hole. I'm not sure what I did, but it was definitely not, in keeping with the lace pattern.
So you're ripping it? I mean,
so I ripped
you have
back.
to rip it. You have to rip back. It's not one of those things like sometimes you can kind of figure out what to do with knitting. Sometimes
I don't
figure out.
Think I don't know enough about crochet, but I don't think you can drop back in crochet and fix something. Because you only have that one live stitch. Mm-hmm. So you can't get to so I ripped back 4 rows. And then I put 2 of the rows, maybe 3 of the rows back on last night. So I'm almost back where I started.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. Well, I mean, the thing about what I learned with the shawl that I made crocheting, it's kind of easy to rip back. It's a lot easier to rip back crocheting than it is knitting.
Yes.
I think.
It is. And this stitch is a shell, like a shell stitch. So I think I get, for each row, maybe not quite a 1/2 inch, but about a 1/2 inch. So, in knitting, if you had to rip back, 2 inches? Mm-hmm.
I know.
But this was only 4 rows, so
like my Fairfield cardigan, I have to rip about 3 or 4 inches back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
and you want to know how much progress I've made on
0, right?
Yeah, 0.
It's just kind of demoralizing when you have to, do that. I find the longer I let it sit, though, the easier it is to rip it out. It's like I don't remember how long it took me.
Yeah.
But anyway, those are my two things that have been the most active. The boot toppers I started and finished. And then my Curious Case of the Crazy Stitch Cardigan by Michelle DuNaier is moving along. I've got, I'm almost, I was actually to the point when I noticed the mistake. So I'm almost back to the point where you work on one side of the body, like it goes, your rows go from the bottom of the front all the way up and over your shoulder and down to the bottom of the back. So I've got one 8-inch panel for one side of the body, and then I stop and I make another 8-inch panel on the other side of the body. And I'm almost to the point where I do the panel on the other side.
I'm not ready to start a crocheted sweater, but at some point I'm going to do it. Once you practice, and the more that this will be your second.
It's my second, yeah.
So the more you make, then the more information you can give me,
right,
about what I'm supposed to be doing.
Right. Well, and someone mentioned on the threads, I think it was Amy Greenhook, that a lot of patterns are a lot more structured than what I was describing. Because you can make any size with any size yarn, basically. You just have to do certain things and measure and do this for this many inches and then measure again. And so there's a lot of non-structured directions, which make it a little more difficult for me to figure out what's happening until I've done it. And then I'm like, oh, okay, I see what this did. So different patterns would probably be different.
I like the pattern, and I like the color you picked too.
It was one of those early morning, open the email, go purchase the yarn. Ooh, I need a whole bag full. It's on sale. I'm getting a sweater quantity.
This is why you should never check your email, because it's expensive. Right?
I had to unsubscribe from all of those. Yeah. I try not to. I try to be conscious of what kind of advertising media I'm consuming, and the effect that it has on me. And it definitely has a noticeable. It has an effect on everyone. That's why they do it, right? But I try to be conscious about it, and I try to limit. To limit the stuff that I think is creating rabid consumerism. So, well,
I've started 2 new projects.
Yay!
Yay!
Don't you love new projects?
Yes. Well, and before I talk about my new projects, I just about my Afghan, the garter squish Afghan that I finished. We talked about that the last episode, and I wanted to thank everybody that made comments in the Epic Projects thread. A lot of really nice, positive, just complimentary comments about the Afghan. We did have a bottle of champagne to celebrate the completion of the Afghan. Yay! On Saturday.
Oh, good.
My brother's birthday was Friday, the 11th, but we got together and celebrated on that Saturday, and so he bought a bottle of champagne for us to have.
Oh.
And we didn't have it at my house. We had it over at my mom's, and I brought the quilt. I brought the Afghan over so people could see it while we were celebrating. I had our friend Gary, and our friend Dave sitting on the sofa under the Afghan. It's just funny. These 2 men, 50 something or other, sitting underneath the Afghan. Anyway, that was cute.
Nice. Did you take pictures?
I didn't take a picture. I should have taken a picture of him sitting there because it was so cute.
You could put it
and they finally they had to take it off because they were getting too warm. And I have used it a couple of mornings, just sitting, on the sofa under the Afghan. I took a nap the other day with it, and so I really like it.
Good.
So
that's nice. Yeah, it turned out so nice.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm pleased with it. So I'm thinking, I won't go into it now, but I have been sort of thinking and planning for my next one, what I might do. So, but that's another podcast.
Well, and you need a little bit of a break.
I need a break from Afghans and garter stitch, which leads me to one of my projects.
Okay.
So garter stitch. So I finally made a decision about what I wanted to make with the Duren Dyeworks yarn that was the specially dyed yarn for the NoCKRs retreat last April. And you started your shawl. So anyway, I knew I wanted to do a shawl, and I like you, I bought the two colors. What are they? Forest Floor is sort of the multicolored one, and then Quietude is the more solid.
Right.
So the shawl I decided to make is called Good Vibes by Nadia Crétin-Léchenn, I think. I don't know. I will put this in the show notes.
Yes. I heard somebody say Crétin-Léchenn or something.
Crétin-Léchenn. Anyway, it's a really nice pattern, and because I think the yarn is so beautiful and luscious and yummy that I wanted to find a pattern where I use as much of the yarn, most of the yarn up. Some of the shawls, use maybe a third of the one skein, and so I wanted to find something I would use all of it, and this seems like you used it up pretty equally. So that's what I wanted. The shawl is shaped with short rows. Say that fast.
Oh, that's funny.
So you start out with garter stitch, increasing on each edge. On the right side, I think you increase a stitch on the edges. And then as it's all garter stitch within bands that you break up periodically with yarn overs to make a little bit of kind of a hole kind of in there. Strategically placed holes, which makes it lace. And then there's these lace panels that are now going to be out of the solid color. And I finished the first lace panel, and I'm starting the second one. But it is interesting, the pattern. And you mentioned this before. Sometimes you just have to not think about it and follow the pattern. Mm-hmm. And not try to think too hard about it. And one of the things I noticed in this pattern, here I'm going to crinkle paper because I'm going to read this to you. So when you get to you do, of course, short rows are created with a wrap and turn, right? Mm-hmm. And we all know how to do that. The lace bands are 16 rows, and the lace section is 11 stitches. But some of the rows, you do the wrap and turn, and then it'll say, rows 5, 9, 13. You do, you knit, blah, 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 and then you get to the end and you wrap next stitch and turn. But then on the next right side row, it just says turn your work. And so out of the 16 rows, let me think, I'm sorry, I'm taking a moment here to read this. I think there's only 2 that you wrap and turn. The rest you just turn your work. And I'm like, well, I don't understand that. Am I misreading that? And I'm supposed to wrap and turn? And I thought, you know what? Just read it. Just do what it says. Do what it says. And I don't know why they have you do that. I haven't figured it out yet. And I'm sure there's a really good reason. Now, the thing is, the reason why you do the wrap and turn as opposed to just turning your work is otherwise, if you just turn the work, it would make a hole, right? Mm-hmm. But maybe it's maybe the reason they do that is because it's part of the lace pattern is to have that hole there. Yeah. I don't know. I haven't figured it out yet. Then you do a yarn over some of them. You just turn your work, but you turn the work, do a yarn over, and then knit back. When you come back, knitting back across, you come to that yarn over, and this has got me completely perplexed. I didn't know what this means, so I'm knitting them together. But it says, on the next right side row, you will knit the yarn over with the next stitch. That will be a wrap stitch. I don't know what that means. It doesn't say, are you supposed to knit them together? I'm assuming you knit them together. Yeah. Because it says you will knit them, yeah. You will knit the yarn over with the next stitch.
And that will...
But then it made me second guess, and that's why I thought, don't think about it too much. But if you were actually supposed to knit them together, wouldn't it say knit them together?
Well, it said knit them. It didn't say knit to. It said knit it together with the. Yeah.
It doesn't. It doesn't say together. Oh. It says knit the yarn over with the next stitch.
But that would be together.
But then,
if it's with it, it's together, right? Yeah,
But this is the thing. It's like you almost need to take a class on just interpreting patterns,
right?
Because if you're supposed to knit them together, wouldn't it just say knit them together?
Well, this is the
not
thing.
With them. There's no standard.
Yeah, this is the thing that I've found in patterns too. is somewhere in the pattern, and this is maybe the way my brain works, but somewhere in the pattern they have a row that seems like it would be completely obvious that you just follow the pattern. You know, you're actually working in pattern, a pattern that you can see, a pattern that's been established, and yet in the pattern it tells you what to do in that row instead of saying work in pattern. And then another place in the pattern, it will say work in pattern. And so I've had patterns like that where I looked at the direction and I thought, okay, I know what this says, but I don't know why they're telling me to do this now when this is what I've been doing. Why didn't they just say work in pattern rows 5 through 9 instead of work in pattern rows 5 through 8 and then row 9? They list out the pattern. You know, stitch by stitch. Like, okay, somewhere someone either didn't do quite the job of tech editing that they should have, or maybe most of the time I think, oh, I'm doing something wrong. Okay, I thought this was what I was doing before. Maybe what I was doing before was not this. Maybe I was wrong. But yeah, I think sometimes it does have to do with the editing process.
Now that we're talking about this, I sometimes think reading knitting patterns, and I'm sure crochet patterns too, is sort of like reading music. You know, I take piano lessons, and I read the music. There's rules about how you note notation, musical notation.
Yeah.
There's rules about it. And then sometimes I'll say to my music teacher, I don't get that. Why did she say, well, it's redundant. So there's also then interpretation and people's own notes that they make about sheet music, about what you're reading. And sometimes it seems redundant. If you know that this is the rule,
right?
And I can't give you an.
Why does it need to also be stated?
Yes. And so like this, what I finally decided with the wrap and turn question on this pattern, if anybody's made this pattern, they can weigh in on this. I probably should look like in the forums on Ravelry, but I finally figured if they said wrap and turn on some of the rows, but they just say turn your work, they literally mean turn your work and don't do a wrap and turn. Otherwise, they would say wrap and turn at the end of each row, right?
I would think so.
So that's how I interpreted that, and I think I'm correct on that. But I don't understand this one where it says, you know, about knit the yarn over with the next stitch, because all the knitting patterns I've seen, if you have 2 stitches that you knit together, they actually say
knit together. Yes.
Knit 2 together, right? So I don't know. I'm hoping I did it right. Now, I'm also now in a little bit of a funk, too, about it, because I was knitting along. I'm like, yay, I'm starting my second band, and I'm going to really work on this. And this was yesterday afternoon, and I was like, I'm going to have a cup of tea and just really relax and just work on this and everything. And I'm knitting along, and then I turn back, and I realize the pattern repeat is 11 stitches, and now suddenly I have 12.
Oh, no.
Now, what did I do? I can't figure out what I did. So I don't know. I have that moment where I'm like, oh, pshaw. I think I'll just go for a walk. So there it sits. So I'm sitting here not knitting on anything because I got a little momentarily frustrated just because I don't know.
Yeah.
And now I'm concerned. Because I will admit, full disclosure, sometimes when I don't have the right number of stitches, I just if I'm short one, I make one, or if I have too many, I just knit 2 together.
Right.
You know? So that's what I thought I would do, but then I thought, well, gosh, maybe I'm going to throw off my numbers so that the lace won't line up, you know, because if you look at the picture of the finished shawl, even though there's these bands, they're sort of curved bands, all the lace lines up.
Yeah,
so,
I'm looking at your project page, yeah.
The strategically placed holes line up, so anyway. But enough of that. But I will say the yarn, though. I really like knitting with the yarn. And it has and Kelly, you've been knitting on your, with the yarn too. It has, and I don't know how to describe it. It's not like it's like the stitches are really defined. So I've just been doing the garter stitch, right? But they have like loft. And when I say that, they're not fluffy because of the silk in there. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
They're really defined and kind of buoyant, kind of.
Yeah, it has to do with, I think, the twist of the yarn.
What's the correct way of describing that?
I would say it has loft, or it's plump.
Plump, yeah. But it's not fuzzy,
No, it's very smooth.
Like, very smooth. But yeah, the stitches I noticed, they don't really lay flat. They kind of have a little, kind of like they have energy or life in them or something, as maybe a way to describe it. Anyway.
Yeah, I really like the yarn a lot. And I bought that extra skein, and I started, and like I said, I think I mentioned in another episode that I got to a place where I had, not every repeat was like this, but one of my repeats had an extra stitch or a stitch too few. And I didn't have the patience to figure out what was going on right then, and I didn't have the heart to rip out, because I can't rip out. I have to, it's too complicated to just rip it back. I have to actually go back stitch by stitch. And I don't have a lifeline because I didn't think it was that complicated of lace, but apparently. So I'm in the point where I'm kind of stuck. But when I started back on it, I thought, oh, I need this extra skein. And then I thought, well, maybe I won't need the extra skein. And I'm kind of hoping I don't. Or at least I don't need very much of it, because I would like to use more of that yarn. It's very, very pretty.
Yeah.
It's you got the silk one too, right?
Yeah, I think we got the same. Yeah. It's merino and silk, I think.
Yeah, and it's a pretty good amount of silk, if I remember correctly. It's not just, 15% or something. I think it's a big percentage, like a 50-50, close to 50-50.
Yeah, and I'm looking at my notes, and I did not write down what it is, but
it's pretty.
Well, I will say, the other thing I'm a little worried about, so I mentioned about garter stitch, because the first part of the shawl is just all garter stitch. It's the multicolored yarn, and I have a very small ball, which is now supposed to do, now I'm going to be doing mostly the lace bands interspersed with some, I don't remember how many rows, maybe it's 2 to 4 rows of, I think it must be 4 rows of garter stitch in between the bands. And I'm in, looking at that little ball.
Right.
Makes me a little panicked. So the extra skein you bought, it's the solid though, right?
It is. It's the solid.
Okay, because you were going to be my lifeline. But.
It's actually, it's not the forced floor. It's the quietude. But it's not the solid. It's more of a semi-solid or slightly variegated with pale. So yes, you actually, you could have dibs on whatever's left of mine if you need it.
Okay. Yeah. Well, anyway, we'll see. I'm holding out hope.
Well, you can just, or you could just do a little bit fewer of those ridge rows. Yeah. Just not do as many, but you'll probably have enough. You'll probably have plenty.
Well, and I'm going to choose not to panic. It's too early to panic.
Very, very much too early to panic. Yes.
It's too early to panic. So I'm just going to chill out and not even think about it. Anyway, but my other project. So I decided, we've been going on and on about ponchos, and we're going to talk about ponchos, but I did cast on for a poncho.
All right.
And yay! And so the one I finally decided to do was the Rodeo Drive Poncho by Staci Perry.
Nice.
And I made the connection. I never knew that Staci Perry does the videos, very pink knits, that I go to all the time to learn how to do.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't make the connection. And so in the pattern, it says you can go to a YouTube video. I go to the YouTube video and I realize it's her, my go-to person to help me solve all of my knitting problems. Yes, my old friend Staci, who shows me how to do provisional cast-ons, and I think pretty much I go to all of her videos to learn how to do anything.
Cool.
But anyway, so that's the pattern I'm making, and I decided, and I love the pattern,
and it's called. It's called Good Vibes.
No, the Good Vibes is my shawl. It's called Rodeo Drive
that's right.
Poncho.
Sorry.
Yeah. That's okay. So I like the pattern, and it's a very simple, just all stockinette. It has some shoulder shaping, and then it just has a big fat cable that goes down the front.
Oh, right. Okay. I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah.
Nice. And you're using your...
Well, anyway, so I'm using, I didn't write it down.
It's Elspeth Lavold Silky Wool.
Yes.
I'm on your
thank you.
page. I can see it.
Anyway, it was, and people have made the poncho out of, I think there's 2 or 3 projects out of this. So that's when I thought, this is perfect. I'll use that spirit yarn from the Goodwill. I think I love the yarn and I love the pattern. I don't think I love them together.
Oh.
I think the poncho, what Staci Perry used was the Knit Picks Capra, which is a 15% merino cashmere blend.
Okay.
And I think the issue with the silky wool is it's not, it's too drapey and not plump enough. We were talking about this plump and loft and whatnot, and I'm concerned that the cable is not going to look very good.
Oh, I didn't think about that, but yeah.
So,
and it's also got some texture to it.
Right.
Which will obscure the cable.
Yes. And so as I said, I like the yarn and I love the pattern. I just don't think the two together are very good. Also, the pattern, it's just one size fits all, but you do have the choice of two necklines. And I decided I decided to make the larger neckline. And I've noticed looking at, I think with the silky wool, it's too drapey to have the large neckline. If I did make the poncho out of the silky wool, I think I need to rip it out and make the small cast on for the smaller neckline because I think it's too drapey and stretchy. I've been looking at people's project pages and they look like the larger neckline. It's really a large. It doesn't look that way in the pattern. It looks almost like the smaller neckline is almost like a crew neck kind of. It's up high, and I thought I don't think I really want that. But in looking at people's project pages, it looks like to me the neckline, the larger one, is a little too open.
Like it will fall off one shoulder,
Yeah.
Okay.
So you know what this means?
More yarn.
I have to go buy yarn. So I thought, maybe I'll just order that Knit Picks Capra because I also do remember the shawl I finished. It's all in the shades of browns and gray. The brown in there is Knit Picks Capra. It's called like truffle or something like that. But it was one of the yarns I picked up in the destash room. So I was thinking, maybe I would just order that online because it seems like it's a pretty good price, for merino cashmere. But I thought before I do that, I still have gift cards to the fiber gallery here in the Greenwood neighborhood. So I think I'm going to go over there first, and I should spend those gift cards.
See what they have.
So I'm going to go over there. Yeah. So I think I'm going to I'm still going to make the poncho, but I'm going to rethink the yarn and then save the yarn for something else. So that's what's going on with my poncho.
Okay. Well, speaking of ponchos, Marsha, I think we should probably talk about our Great Poncho Adventure.
Yes.
Finally, we've been talking and talking. Get on the ball and actually do something. Stop all this talk.
Well, and I have to say, it's the Great Poncho Adventure by popular demand.
Exactly.
We've had a lot of people say, "Are you going to have a poncho along?"
Yeah. What's with all this talk about ponchos? Let's have some action. Yesterday I opened up a thread for the Poncho Adventure and put together a bundle. And then some people have already added to our bundle. And I also promised to give details, which I will do. Start now or start in the past. Like Marsha did. And so many other people who couldn't wait.
Yeah, they're already underway.
Us.
So just, yeah.
So works in progress count. Stuff you start now counts. Lots of different choices of poncho garments. Poncho, Ruana. I'm making a button, like a shawl that buttons, or a buttoned wrap, I guess is the way you would describe it. So all kinds of ponchos. Any kind of poncho you can find that you are interested in, you should cast on and join us in this poncho adventure because it's going to be really fun. And we will have prizes, but first I guess I should tell you when it's going to end. So this is pretty exciting. It's going to end February 23rd. When Stitches West starts.
Yay.
Yes.
And I'm coming to Stitches West.
Yes. So we're going to be in our ponchos. Marsha and I are, we're going to try really hard to be done.
Even though it might be 85, 90 degrees.
Yeah.
Will it be that hot when I come?
I don't think so. Sometimes it's nice and it gets warm inside of the building. But the good thing about a poncho is you can kind of fluff it around you and let the air in, right? Or take it off and throw it in your bag, I suppose. So it's not like a sweater. Marsha and I will be at Stitches West, garbed in ponchos.
We better get knitting.
I know.
I got to get my other yarn fast.
Well, I guess I was thinking you had already started, but you've changed your mind. So that puts you a little bit back a little bit.
Yeah, no, I'm behind, right?
Well, I don't know if you're behind because I haven't started because I got my pattern and I looked at it. I'm doing the Om shawl. And it is a big wrap and it has a little bit of design, color work design on it. And of course, because I'm me, the pattern calls for 4 colors, but I only have 3 colors, but I'm still going to do it. So I have to figure out, what I have to figure out is how I'm going to modify the design slightly. And then I'm going to knit half of it because I want to use up all the yarn. So I'm going to modify the design and then my main color, I'm going to divide the colors in half. I'm going to modify the design, and part of the modification is going to be certain things are going to be knit until they're gone. And then when I get done with the third color, the main color in the middle, then that tells me I need to start the other balls of yarn and do the exact reverse, going the opposite direction. So hopefully I will have, like maybe 2 yards left of yarn. That's my plan, is to just go right down to the very last bit of yarn on this. And it's Neighborhood Fiber Company, and I'm so looking forward to knitting with it. I've been hearing about people who are making projects with this yarn, and I want to get started. I do have to think a little bit about, the stripes are a little narrow and I want to make them wider. So that's really what I think my plan is to make the stripes a little bit wider. And then I may just
this
put
is cute. I'm looking at the pattern on Ravelry. It's cute.
Yeah, I just really like it. And I think it wouldn't hurt to have a stripe down the back. So I could do something in the middle of the back as well. Because it just wraps around and then buttons and makes a poncho. So I'm excited to get started. And I think February 23rd is a reasonable time frame to get done. I actually want it done sooner because it's getting cold here. It's not, obviously this is California and I'm on the coast, so it's not like 5 degrees or something. But we usually, just to give you an idea, last year I think I had 2 days all winter that were cold enough for me to wear this tunic. And so I'm kind of at the time of year where it's cold and I'm getting dressed in the morning and I walk to work, so I need something to wear, but I don't have a coat because why do you have a coat in California on the coast? But there are just a few days where you need something, and I think a poncho would be perfect. So I'm hoping to get it done sooner so that I can use it during those really cold December days. But we shall see. The best laid plans don't always come to fruition.
Well, it may happen.
It may happen.
Yeah.
It may happen. I have other things that I want to get done, but the poncho may move to the front of the list. We'll just have to see.
So, Kelly, you started the bundle on on our page, and you've added a bunch of patterns, and other people have added patterns, and I'll talk about the patterns because there's some that I really like. I was just going to mention them, but how do you add something to the bundle?
Okay,
how would I add something?
So you go to our group. So either through the forums tab. I have it in my forums tab. So I just go to the forums tab and then I click on our group. So then you're in the 2 Ewes Fiber Adventures discussion board. And then do you see where it says featured bundles on the side? Great Poncho Adventure.
Yes.
So if you just click on that, where it says Great Poncho Adventure, you get into the bundle. And then everybody who's a member of the group should have a button up on the right-hand side that says add to this bundle.
Edit bundle?
No, a little bit lower. It says add to this bundle.
Okay, let me see.
It's just right above the pictures on the right-hand side.
Oh, I see. Yes, I see.
A little green.
Yeah, a little plus sign.
A little green plus sign. And so all you do is you just click add to bundle. And then you can search for them, or if you have something in your favorites, you can go search in your favorites. You can, if you had, you use tags on things, I think you said. So if you had tags if you had a tag called ponchos, you could just use the the choice of import a tag from your favorites.
Okay.
So you could import the tag of ponchos or a list of links or from a group page. I've been using just search for items to add. First, I did search from my favorites because I had a bunch of ponchos in my favorites. And then once I did that, now I've just been doing search for items to add and just, things I remember the name of. Like I remembered the Mesa poncho or the Mobius bias loop or whatever. And I just type in something that would be close to that name and I would get some choices. So yeah, we've got quite a few nice ponchos in this. Yeah. And this Julie J. Chant has put in a few of her favorites. And
and she put in, you put in that easy folded poncho, the church mouse one. That was one I was really seriously thinking of making. But then I saw this one with the cable that I like. I need to add, so mine is, you added mine in here, I think.
I believe I did, yes. And then, Amy, is it Amy? No, Straight Fork. Is Kathy. She added one. So there's another one in there that I haven't seen already. Nice. Yeah, there's quite a few different ones. Oh, Cindy Q put in some.
Okay.
So yeah.
Well, and the one, there's 4 that I like.
Okay, tell me which ones you like.
So, Kala, J. Champ with this one. Is it Kala, Calla? That's good looking. It's just sort of a very stockinette, has a little bit of detail down one side, but it has this big slouchy cowl.
Yeah.
Which I love that one. I think that one's really good looking. What was the other one? Oh, Indigo Frost. I think that was the one that has a little bit of feral.
I love
Indigo Frost.
That one. That's the one that I said I think the attraction is the baggy jeans.
The jeans, yeah.
But I do like that. I do like that poncho a lot. And then the other one I like a lot is right next to it on the bundle, at least on my screen. It's called Potawatomi. And it's got an interesting cable and fringe on the side. Now, see, you have to have a real poncho attitude to wear fringe.
Yes. Well, okay, so I'll get to... So the other one I thought was good looking was Denizen Poncho. You put that one in, Kelly.
I liked that
and that's because that was real good looking. Oh, and then the other one, which started the whole poncho thing, Naya's Poncho.
Yes.
So that's what started my whole poncho. What's my poncho thing I've got? Love affair, fascination, flirtation.
Crush.
Whatever. Crush. My poncho crush. Before our conversation, I was looking that one up, and I don't think I can get that pattern in English, though. I think it's...
Oh.
Yeah, I don't think I can buy it online. I mean, I think you have to go... Yeah, I don't see it. There's only one project, which is Single Mom Power.
Oh, okay.
That's the only project from our group. And then I thought, well, if I went to the actual page to see if I could buy it, I went to the designers page, but it looks like everything is in... Actually, I don't know what language it is. I'm assuming it's Danish, but I'm not 100% sure of that either.
Interesting.
Well, actually, it says here her website is Wilfert's at DK, so I don't know if that's... They're not referring to the yarn weight. That's the country. That's the country. So I'm assuming that's Denmark, but I don't know. That's really what started me on this whole poncho flirtation, that one. So maybe I just need to make that one.
Well, and I sort of went down a rabbit hole a little bit. I put in something. I think I was doing a search to get into Ravelry and get the ponchos. And what came up on my screen was the Wikipedia page for ponchos. So there's a whole history. There's a lot of history and culture. All of the different South American cultures all wear ponchos of different varieties, and they all have different names, and they have different characteristics. And then there's capes and cloaks. So that started me looking at that aspect of the poncho. And then I started thinking about, I think, unless I guess it's a very warm location, I think just about every culture that has any kind of weather has some version of the poncho. You know, like the kilt in some respects, right? Isn't that, I mean, originally wasn't a kilt just like 12 yards of tartan that you wrap around yourself in different ways to get...
Well, you wrap around yourself, and then there's a piece that I think you throw over your shoulder. Yeah. Now it's gotten a little bit, that's how it was originally,
right?
You know,
and then you
think about it, even kind of like Yeah, and if you think about like a sari, there's that piece that then they throw over their shoulders and wrap around.
Yeah.
It's sort of
So I thought that was
poncho-esque.
very interesting. It's sort of like every culture has a burrito. Yeah. I mean, they're not called that, but every culture has some kind of carbohydrate wrapped around something that you then eat.
A protein stuffed carbohydrate.
Yes. So it just seems like that's something that is pretty much everywhere. I mean, most of them that I see are South American sort of style, but the different varieties. But I think if I were to poke around a little bit further, I would find other names for this garment that basically is a piece of fabric with a hole for your head, a blanket with a hole for your head.
You make it sound so fashionable.
Well, actually, no. There's some really gorgeous ponchos. I do think that this bundle is proof.
Oh, I think it is proof, yeah.
Although my favorite one is the one that I have on the cover page. My favorite one at the moment is the Wanderlust Ruana.
Yes, and I think might even trump Nadia's poncho.
Well, and the photographs.
In terms of desirability, but I'm probably never going to make it, but it just looks so cool.
Well, and I think part of it is the photographs because you have this woman in this really interesting hat, and she's charging down the street, and then she's like spinning around, and it just, I mean, seriously, that is a woman with some
poncho attitude.
Real poncho attitude, yeah. So, and I have a Ruana. I have a Ruana that I've warped for, and I've spun for, and I haven't yet gotten it on the loom. So I actually have a goal in my mind of putting that Ruana on the loom sometime before the end of this calendar year. I'm not going to say it's going to be done, but it's going to be on the loom. We'll see. We made public pledges 2 episodes ago that we won't mention right now. We'll check in on those next time. Let's say.
Yeah, next time. Well, okay. We got a poncho going on, and a poncho adventure.
Yes, and so we have a hashtag, Poncho Adventure, that you can use on Instagram. We will have prizes, but the prizes will be from the Ravelry group. But a hashtag is always fun. And then always, you can always use the 2Use hashtag when you post things for our group. It's fun. It makes it easy for Marsha and I to check and see what people are doing, and it's kind of fun to add to the 2Use hashtag. So we'll have that.
Yeah.
So, and then I know we're getting kind of long, Marsha, but we have some yarn to give away.
Oh, yes. Exciting. Nothing better than yarn to give away.
I know. So I mentioned last time that I had bought yarn, Blacker yarns from the Woolly Thistle, and that Claire had sent along some yarn for me to give away. So I wanted to describe it. One of them is Blacker Swan, which is Falkland Islands wool from Swan Inlet Farm. It says it's a DK weight. It's 119 yards in 50 grams. So that sounds a lot like Cascade. Although Cascade 220 is kind of a lightweight worsted. So anyway, it's that type of yarn. It's soft. Falkland is soft and sort of silky feeling. It's nice. And it's gray. It's a pale gray color. And then the other one that she sent was Blacker West Country Tweed. And it is woolen spun. It's called turquoise. And it is sort of a turquoise teal-y color. And it looks like it's dyed over a gray or, over a yarn that's mixed white and gray fleece or fiber. It doesn't say that on it doesn't say that on the ball band, but I would be surprised if it wasn't. The color has that look of over-dyeing gray. And it's tweedy. It has little bits of other colors sort of sprinkled throughout. I mean, not brilliant other colors, but I can see like little yellowish bits and little dark dark bits in there. So it's not so tweedy as like a Harris tweed type color, but it is a little bit tweedy. So there's that one. It's a little more woolly than the Falkland. The Falkland is really soft, but this one is still nice. And I think, like I was mentioning last time, I think if you swatched with it and washed it, you would find it to really fluff up and be kind of fluffy. You know, you were talking about the yarn that was really smooth. This one is more. It's more fluffy. It's a woolen spun yarn, so it's got more fluff to it, and that I think would make it feel soft. And then the third one. So these are all listed as DK. They all have 119 yards in 50 grams. And so this last one is called Blacker Classic. It's classic British wool with 30% blue-faced Leicester. So it's kind of got a sheen to it too, a little silkiness to it because of the long wool. This is the color dark red, which I would not actually call it dark red. I would say it's kind of it's a dark dusty rose in a way. When I think of dark red, I think of like blood red color. And this is not that. It's more like a dark version of dusty rose. So it's kind of between dusty rose and terracotta, maybe.
Okay.
That gives you an idea. I will put pictures in the thread, and we will have a little prompt, and you can read the prompt and follow the directions and enter to win this trio. So all three of them are going to one prize winner. Win this trio of Blacker yarns from Claire at the Woolly Thistle.
Okay.
So that's exciting. I think it's
very
exciting.
Yeah.
Thank you
so
much,
Claire, for sending them.
Yeah, it was very nice of her to send those along. I'm excited to be able to give them away. And then the other purchase that I made last week, or 2 weeks ago, I guess I mentioned, was from Countess Ablaze. And since they had not arrived, I didn't talk about them last week, but I ordered, and they smell, all of them sort of smell woolly, sheepy a little bit. Not quite like commercial yarns. So the Countess, I'm sorry, I'm sniffing.
Okay, come on, be back here, Kelly. Gather yourself.
I'm sniffing away. I think I was doing that last episode too with the other ones. I apologize for my sniffing. Your yarn has been pre-sniffed. So I'll tell you about the two I bought for myself. The one that I bought for myself is called
I'm still laughing.
Lady
I'm
Persephone.
sorry, I'm still chuckling.
Lady Persephone sock yarn. And it's a regular sock yarn, 75% blue-faced Leicester, 25% nylon, fingering weight, 425 meters. So this one is mine. This is the one I purchased for myself. And the colorway, I love the colorway names that she has. Her name is Lindsay, who does the Countess Ablaze yarns. It's called Eccentric Eccentric Geeks is this colorway. And it's a multicolor. It's mostly blues and greens, but it's got pinks and oranges and purples. And it's all really, it's not like a striping. It's all just variegated blotches of color. Very pretty. Very pretty. So that was one I bought for myself. And then the other one I bought for myself is a lace weight. And this is Lord Kitchener lace, which I thought was cute. And the color is called Psychosocial. I have no idea. If any of these are references from pop culture, I am pretty much ignorant of most of pop culture. Maybe it has a reference, maybe it doesn't, but I like the name. And it's a purple and gray and teal. It's much more dark, like gothic sort of look to it. So I like that one. And then the third one that I got, I also really like, but this is the one I'm giving away. Marsha and I sent Marsha a picture and we talked about which one to give away. So this is the one that I'm going to be giving away. So drum roll, please. Da-da-da-da. Okay, so this is
I'm pounding on the table.
This is called the Blue-Faced Baron Fingering. And this is a superwash blue-faced Leicester. So I think this is a good sock yarn choice for a prize because it is washable. And it's a pale creamy yellow. The color of it is a pale creamy yellow. And then it is splashed with neons. So it's splashed with a bright magenta and a dark teal green and a sort of a dark orange color and a yellow. I don't know, maybe neon's not the right word, but bright colors, splashed with bright colors.
Jewel tones?
No, I don't.
That's too subdued?
That's too.
These are brighter than that?
That's brighter than that. Like the green would be a jewel tone green. I think if it weren't on this particular yarn, you would call it a jewel tone. But the rest of the color, and maybe the teal would be a jewel tone too if it was by itself. But the orange and the pink are definitely not jewel tone. They're definitely like brights. So it's a really nice combination of brights and darks splashed. Not really speckled so much as splashed. I mean, there are some smaller spaces of the splashing, but it really just looks like it's splashed with color. It's gorgeous. I'm very interested. Whoever wins this, you must cast on immediately because I want to see what it looks like. I really want to see what it looks like knit up. And I have to tell you that I love the colorway name of this one. It's called This Ain't a Scene. I just think that's so funny. So that's the prize. This Ain't a Scene by the Countess of Blaze. And Lindsay sent along a tote bag that has the Countess of Blaze logo on it, which is also very nice. So I purchased these yarns and told her that I was going to use one of them for a prize. And so she threw in a tote bag for whoever wins the prize. So yeah, so we have yarn giveaways because I went shopping.
Well, I'm excited.
Yeah, me too. So I will put 2 different threads in the Ravelry group, and probably not next episode, but the episode after, just to give people time. I think a lot of our listeners seems like they don't listen the week it comes out, but maybe the next week. So it'll be not next episode, but the episode after. So about a month from now will be the drawing for that. And you'll have directions, 2 different threads. You can go read the directions, answer the prompt, do what we tell you, and win a prize, maybe. So,
yeah, okay. All right, cool. Well, anything else we have that we need to talk about?
Well, I did just want to mention one of our listeners, we encouraged her, enabled her, caused her to buy a spinning wheel. And I might have mentioned Leslie before. Busalova is her Ravelry name, Leslie, and she posted in our group in the stash page. We have, shared. You can share your stash. So she shared her stash, and it's her first ever spin and ply. And I just think that is so fabulous. It's a natural yarn, undyed. And she has nice notes about how she did it. It was an Ashland Bay Corriedale top. She got a 1-pound pack of it, and she's spinning it, and she's got a picture of the ball before she plied it, so her singles. And then she has a picture of her yarn, which is beautiful. Little picture of the yarn on the wheel. And oh my gosh, I just get so happy when I see new spinning.
Yeah.
So well done, Leslie. I think that's very, very cool to see your spinning, and I like to think I'm responsible.
You are.
Oh my gosh, yes. We have a lot of other fun things that people have shared. Oh, you know what? I am going to tell one more thing. I wasn't going to say anything else because we're already late, but I have to mention this because remember how I talked about the cape that was in Vogue? Dagmar actually made one already before we even started our poncho along. She's done. Bought the pattern, worked it up, it's done. She started it on September 2nd. She finished it on October 30th. I mean, it's chunky yarn, but still, that was pretty amazing. And it looks just as good on her as it does on the model in Vogue. I like that pattern a lot. I might have to make one of those, but I say that I've said that about maybe half of the poncho patterns in the bundle. So I don't think you can have that many ponchos.
I don't know. Why not?
Well, where will I put them? That's a big problem.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah, no, I saw her. I saw that poncho, and I thought that was pretty darn good looking.
Yeah, it's great looking. Yeah. There have been some really pretty things in Vogue that I've seen over the years that I've wanted to make that I haven't. And that's one of those on the list that's like, I really want to make that.
I'm looking at her page while we're talking.
Oh, yeah.
This is why I sometimes go a little silent. I'm like, I have to look at the.
I do the same thing. People
can't see what I'm doing, but that's what I'm doing.
Yeah, if we had video, we'd be. Well, I guess it wouldn't be that entertaining to watch us look at the page. It wouldn't be any more entertaining to watch us look at the page than it is to listen to us look at the page.
That is so cute.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing everybody's ponchos, ruanas, sarapes, capes, cloaks. If somebody makes a cloak, there's a woman. Okay, one last little sidebar.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
I have the most interesting neighborhood, right? Don't you think?
Yes.
We at one point had a guy, he hasn't been around in a long time, but we at one point had a guy who used to ride his bicycle. Most of the time it was about 2 a.m, riding his bicycle and playing a saxophone, riding down the street. So that's one of the interesting characters in my neighborhood. But another interesting character in my neighborhood is a woman who walks to the bus every morning with her parrot. She has an African gray. She has an African gray, and she walks past with her parrot every day. Sometimes the parrot's on her shoulder. Sometimes the parrot is sitting on her bag that she carries. But she wears a gray cloak. So mysterious to have a gray cloak and a parrot on your shoulder and walk by every day.
Well, and I have to tell you something, Kelly. When I was down there in April, I talked to her. Robert and I were out there, and we talked to her.
Okay, so is she mysterious?
Okay, so I'm gonna say something, and I hope I don't offend people in this profession, because there's a stereotype of people in this profession.
Okay,
she's a CPA.
Oh.
And
how did I not know this? That you talked to her already. So that doesn't sound mysterious at all.
No, but the thing is, I have this idea, stereotypical idea, right? The people who are in the accounting profession are a bit more suit and tie, like a little more buttoned down, suits, tie, little. Right. And so the fact that she's wearing this cape or this garment and walking around with a parrot is so kind of out of character of these professions that you think of being a little more straight-laced, which is probably completely unfair of me, because we're all human beings and we're on a spectrum, right?
Correct.
It's all a spectrum, but that's the thing. It's funny. Here she is with this, this very interesting clothing and a parrot. She carries around, and she works. She's an accountant.
Okay,
so there you go.
Well, that's very interesting. So yes, cloaks. Anybody wearing a cloak is fascinating.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Wear a cloak, become immediately fascinating.
Kelly, is it more fascinating to say, I wear a cloak than it's like, I'm an accountant?
Yes. Oh, let me just grab my sweater. No. Let me just grab my cloak. Fascinating person.
Okay. Well, before we offend any more people in the accounting profession
or people who wear cloaks. No, I think yes. Yes, okay, so we should just stop.
Let's stop before we offend any more people.
Okay.
Anyway. All right. Well, good conversation. Yeah. I have some work to do because I got to get beyond my projects that I'm stuck on right now, and I have to go find more yarn, which is never a bad thing.
Right. That doesn't sound like work.
No, that sounds like fun. So.
Right.
All right. I'm off to go have fun.
Okay.
All righty.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for listening. To subscribe to the podcast, visit 2usfiberadventures.com. We have links for iTunes, Google Play Music, YouTube, and others.
Join us on our adventures on Ravelry and Instagram. I am Better in Motion, and Kelly is 100 Projects.
Until next time, we're the 2 U's
doing our part for World Fleece.